always be one of the most awesome upstanders that we've ever had in our lives. A man who left us such an incredible legacy. And I think, like one of our mottos is right in alignment with him, and that he was so passionate about creating a world that works for everyone and that centers for spiritual living. That's what we set as one of our goals. I'm going to read his 1963 I Have a Dream. But I invite you to personalize this. In this, he uses the word Negro, and maybe that word works for you. But maybe you want to change it out for maybe a group of people that you still know don't have freedom, a group of people who are still marginalized. So I just invite us to personalize his words. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree is a great beacon of light to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still badly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. So we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protests to degenerate into physical violence. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to distrust all white people, for many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we will always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. So I say to you today, my friends, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of the skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream that one day in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the wounds of interposition and unification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountain side, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hills of New Hampshire, Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that. Let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia, from Lookout Mountains of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every city and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, great God Almighty, we are free at last. Let's just take a quiet moment to take those words in. Just noticing the emotion that they bring to this moment. Just noticing. And I invite you to stand for our affirmation today. So our affirmation today, and I join you with tears too. So our affirmation today is freedom is ringing from the Everyday Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And let's say that 3 times together. Freedom is ringing from the Everyday Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Freedom is ringing from the Everyday Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Freedom is ringing from the Everyday Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so it is.
Amazing. Good morning, I'm Joseph Salek, and this morning it's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Deborah. Just letting that sink in. What an amazing man Martin Luther King is, and what a vision, and it's time. This morning it's a pleasure to be welcoming back Chris and Carrie Ishee. Chris and Carrie Ishee are longtime residents of Santa Fe, having lived here for 30 years and raised their family here. Carrie is an art therapist and life coach, and Chris is a professional musician. Their current collaboration is called Mining Inner Wisdom, and this morning they will share 2 of the songs from this Healing Odyssey. Let's welcome Chris and Carrie Ishee.
Now that my heart is wide open from that, revisiting that amazing speech, we'll see if, just join me if any tears are shed. Thank you for having us back to share our music. This is a project, we've been married 30 years, and this is a project we always knew way back when we wanted to create in some form, and it's coming to fruition. We're so happy to share. So the first song is Feet on the Floor, and this is about grounding in present time, which a lot of this morning has been about that. So you can close your eyes if you'd like. Engage right here, right now. Feet on the floor, touching core to core. Your core, the earth's core. Welcome home. Feel the power right here. Feet on the floor, touching core to core. Be behind your eyes, right here, right now. Feet on the floor. touching core to core. Open your senses. What do you hear? What do you smell, taste, see? What do you feel? Feet on the floor, touching core to core. Let your body come alive. Be here right now, engaged in your life. Feet on the floor, touching core to core. Your feet on the floor, touching core to core. Now bring your awareness to your feet, and in this moment allow yourself to imagine roots growing out of the bottom of your feet, deep down to the center of the earth, connecting your core to her core, letting yourself feel the rightness of being here right now, grounded in this time. We belong here. Your feet on the floor, touching core to core.
Good morning, every day.
Good morning.
I actually heard Linda call me by name, so I guess there are some people in the room that remember that I'm Rev Ann Rea and that I get to serve with this amazing community in building amazing community in the world and being a place where freedom is revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom of all kinds. You know, it's one thing to say that this is an inclusive philosophy, but that's no longer enough.
That's right.
It's no longer enough. Inclusive has become kind of a word, you know? It's a nice word. But I'm realizing as I'm going over all of our printed materials, what do they really say about us? What do they really say about the welcome that this philosophy offers, the safety, the serenity that this philosophy offers, and that each of us offer as we welcome each other. Good morning, Zoomers. Zoom. Good morning.
Zoom.
And so I am going to give you a little heads up. I didn't mention it last week because I thought I might scare you. So I'll just tell you now, you might need your seatbelt today. So as you may remember, I've mentioned it a few times since the beginning of the year that it is tradition, or at least it always has been, in my growing up, I will call it, in this philosophy, because even though I didn't grow up in this philosophy like Patty did, it was definitely a growing up. It was definitely a growth and change and astonishing experience in my life to discover this philosophy that was so clearly the truth to me. I understand, which is why I end up dancing back and forth. Christine's saying, I couldn't see you. I said, I don't know. So traditionally, at least it has been, and in some places I'm sure still is, including here. Traditionally in January, we have spoken about the basics of this philosophy, of what makes it what it is. It's sort of like, when you're making cookies, Patty, and you start with flour and sugar and eggs maybe, and butter. Oh, I didn't need to wait long for that one. And butter. So today, we're going to talk about the butter. I know. So, musicians talk about breaking things down, doing a breakdown, where they kind of slow everything down, where you can actually hear the components. And that's what we're doing this morning, because these key components that I'm about to address are the heart and soul, in my view, of this teaching. And they are the heart and soul of this teaching because they are the heart and soul of how the divine works. So not only are we going to talk about how the divine works, we're going to talk about what's going on when it looks like it's not working, which might be very helpful today. These two basics that are elemental to how the divine spirit, the universe, all energy, all intelligence, all consciousness, how it works, are love and law.
Yep.
And The love part is easy to understand, is it not? Right?
Right.
Everybody would figure that love is a part of what's going on here. Because that just makes sense. We believe in a life that is all life, that is its only motivation is love. Its impulse is love. But what directs that love? That is the question. What directs that love? When I talk about staying in our lane, how do we know we're in our lane? Because we can tell by the way that life is responding to us. This whole thing about love and law is very easy to recognize because it's right in our face every day.
Yep.
It has nothing to do, everybody take a nice big deep breath now. It has nothing to do with anybody else. So we'll just take that off the table. It has nothing to do with choices somebody else is making. It has nothing to do with choices somebody else isn't making. It has nothing to do with anything that anybody is saying or saying somebody said. It has nothing to do with any of that. On the other hand, it has everything to do with us. Well, that's the good news, and that's the other news. Because when we talked last week about the power, and I talked about the power being housed in each of us and in all of life. Those seeds that manage somehow to come up through cement, if that isn't power, I've never seen power. And how do they do that? Nobody knows. The smartest people in the world don't know. They have conjecture. Well, we have conjecture about a lot of things. But they don't know. This power is the same power that created everything that exists, that ever existed, and will ever exist in the future. Now wait, Rev Ann, are you really actually positively saying that I, Carol Rose, who is just a person, that I actually am a vehicle for that power? Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what I'm saying. A vehicle, a mouthpiece, a representation. And you know what? That's true whether we want it to be or not.
Right.
We can sit here and think, oh, Wait a minute, Linda can do this really well because she's already tiny. Oh, I don't want to be that. Sorry. It's part of our divine nature, and we think DNA only means one thing. It's part of our divine nature. We cannot shirk it. We can give it away.
Yep.
We can give it away. I can shrink before someone else's authority, and I can believe that I no longer have any.
Yep.
Now, what is the common denominator in that equation?
Me.
Ourselves. We can shrink before someone else's authority and say, oh, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. They can be that. I don't want to be that. I don't want to have that. I don't. And I don't. And it doesn't matter. Because we are who we are. We are who we were born to be. And we are who we were born to be right now.
Yep.
We aren't who we were born to be 30 years ago. We aren't who we were born to be years ago. We are born to be who we are right now. And all of the stuff that we've been accumulating all of these years that we think is so incriminating, is so awful, is so unforgivable, is so well, that's too bad. Because none of it matters. It's previous chapters in our book.
Mm-hmm.
Previous chapters. Choices we made believing what we believed then.
Mm-hmm.
All of which were the very best we could do with what we believed then. And I don't care, I mean, I care about you all very deeply, but I don't care how much you want to explain it to me. And how much you want to say, yeah, but. I don't care. I'll listen. But you're going to hear from me the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You are a beloved one of that source that has seen fit to find it fascinating to experience life as us.
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly. I mean, that is a big deal. That's a big deal. This life, this creativity, this creative surge, this dynamic presence, it didn't just kind of go whoosh, and spread around a few trees and oceans and fish and people and mountains and stars and planets and things. It didn't just go psh, and then go see ya. Later. No. It did all of this to experience life. To experience life as we do. As we do. And so if our life is a struggle, this is going to sound really weird, but stay with me. It gets to experience our version of struggle.
Exactly.
If our life is joyous, it gets to experience our version. Now, my version is not the same as Carol's. There may be similarities, but my version of joy is not the same version as Carol's. My version is not the same version as Deborah's. My version is not the same version as Vanessa's. My version is not the same version as Barbara's. We each have our own version of all of it. Those are our crayons. Remember our first big box of crayons?
Yes.
Now, I don't remember my first little box of crayons, but I want to tell you, I remember to this day my first big box of crayons.
64.
Yes. Yes.
With the sharpener.
With-
the sharpener, yeah.
With a sharpener and all those beautiful colors. And we get to color with all of them. Nobody handed us, well, I can't say nobody, but it's likely that few of us had the experience of having somebody hand us that big, gorgeous box of crayons and say, and you can only use 3 colors. So you better choose carefully. We got to color with whatever we wanted. And you know what? We still do.
Yeah.
And we have so many more colors than 64 now. Because we know stuff. Now, the fact that we know stuff, could be good, could be bad, who's to say? It's what we do with what we know that matters.
That's right.
It's what we do with what we know that matters. So, there's love and there's law. Well, what am I talking about when I'm talking about law? I'm talking about consequences. I'm talking about a reverberation of magnetism, an exchange of energy that happens continuously in not only our world, but life beyond how we know it. That magnetism, that reverberation, that exchange is how we know life is working. It's the evidence. Oh, and man, do we like evidence. We are so hooked on evidence. The thing is our evidence is the only evidence that matters.
Right.
It isn't somebody else's evidence. It's never about somebody else. Our evidence. So what am I talking about when I'm talking about evidence? I'm talking about cause and effect.
That's right.
We are the generator. As the vehicle of this extraordinary life, love, brilliance, capacity, possibility, as the vehicle for that and so much more as that, through that, in that, for that. Remember now, we get to use all the colors. And that includes colors we don't like. That includes colors that, did you ever mix colors together? Even with crayons and painters? I'm assuming that this has happened to some of you, where you mixed colors together and the outcome was not exactly what you had in mind. It was sort of a muddy, weird something. When we have something happen in our life, now stay with me before you jump to conclusions, before you hear me say more than I said. Seriously, stay with me. When we have something happen in our life, and we have a reaction to it, that it's like an offense. It's like we take it personally. It is, we've been doing all this praying and we've been having all these people praying for us and wanting this wonderful outcome, and this thing happens that is a delay or is the opposite of what it was that we thought we were asking for. Listen carefully. It is not God's will.
Yes, that's right.
It is not God's will that you shouldn't have blah blah. Whatever it is. Here comes the big news. God doesn't have a will.
That's right.
God doesn't have a preference. God doesn't have a prejudice or a bias or a preconceived idea about anything. Okay then, because I can hear some of your minds, believe me. What good is God anyway, if God isn't going to step up and take action? But that isn't how it works. That isn't how the law works. The law works in direct correlation to our use of it. So if I'm going to do another breakdown for you. If I have a preconceived idea in my mind about how the law is going to work, and in many cases, if I have a preconceived idea, my preconceived idea is that it's not going to work. Of course, I'm not speaking about me personally. I'm just saying I know people. who may tend to go towards the worst outcome.
Right.
Well, you know what? If the worst outcome is what we're looking for,
We're gonna find.
that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that is how the law works.
Right.
The law works in agreement with our focus and our choices via our free will.
That's right.
This freedom to use all the colors that we were given just by, God bless you on the truth, by being here, it's not, and you can look at the evidence of people who don't seem to have that freedom and who don't seem to have free will. And all of those people, without exception, are living at the effect of someone else's choices.
Yes.
Who they believe is more powerful than they are. There is a sequence here, not blame. Not blame. There is a sequence that is predictable.
Yes.
So, how do we make it work in the way we mean? Well, we start by focusing on what we mean. Regardless of those previous chapters. Because the previous chapters have all ended. Anything prior to this moment is part of a previous chapter.
Right.
They've all ended. So we start now. We start in this moment. We start today. We start together. And we say, okay, let's see. I can use all the colors. Well, I want to just use colors that I like. Good start. Good start. Focus on what makes us feel good.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I know that this could sound like spiritual woo-woo, but it's not. This is how the law works. Choose the colors that you like. Focus on what it is you mean. Focus on how it is that you want to feel when the change you're calling forward is delivered to you. Not how you want to feel when it isn't.
Right. Right.
For heaven's sakes, you've been rehearsing that one all your life. Stop it. Focus on how it is that you want to feel when the change you are calling forward is delivered to you.
Yes.
No matter how it comes, no matter how surprising the delivery system, no matter what. Focus on how you want to feel when it is done unto you as you believe.
Right.
And then take it from there. And don't go backwards.
Right.
And so it is.
And so it is.
That's you?
the ushers come up. Thank you.
They're coming, Deborah.
I'm breathing up here. I'm breathing.
They're picking their colors right now.
Well, they do pick their colours because they match. Look at that. They match. How lovely is that? So let's just take this moment to melt into the consciousness of giving. Let's just melt and feel how good it is to reside in that place within us that loves to give. For givers flow and grow in the divine law. Givers flow and grow in the one life, the one love, the one heart, in this one moment. And what we know about God, if it is God's nature to give, and it is our nature to give. What we know about God is it's God's nature to receive, and it is our nature to receive. So within this very sweet, beautiful dance of giving and receiving, we say our affirmation together. The love of Spirit blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive abundantly, and so it is. Oh, and if the basket goes by you and you're not putting anything in, just put your hands over there so you're intending to be in the givingness. We are so grateful for this consciousness of giving. This consciousness of giving that knows that as we give, so do we receive. This consciousness of giving that gives us the opportunity to say, thank you, sweet Spirit, for loving me through the Everyday Center for Spiritual Living. For this place where we are learning and growing together is such a magnificent place in our hearts and our minds. And so how sweet is this, that we get to contribute to its giving back to us. And so in the spirit of giving and receiving, we say together, and so it is.
Oh, am I supposed to do the other ones?
No, Jackie's gonna do it. Just Kalita would know.
400 and something.
For the fire, we collected $270.
Wow. This is awesome.
Yes.
So, yes, we're going to go, I'm going to walk around and anybody who'd like to also help the fire victims in California.
Hi, everybody. So the basket is being circulated for the second collection right now, just so you know what's going on. Hi, Facebook. Yeah, that's what's going on right now. And then we're going to hear another fabulous song from Carrie.
Yay, team. I got a lovely letter, and I'll be forwarding it to you.
All
from
right.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's nice when we stop by and say hi to people online, because otherwise they're all just super.
People online, we have collected today a lot more. If you want to send in a check to Everyday Center for Spiritual Living, everydaycsl.com, just make sure you put it's for the fire victims.
Chris and Carrie.
So this is the final song on our transformational journey that we've put together over the last few years. And I have to say, Anne, yeah, that big box of crayons, I think, is what led me ultimately to become an art therapist. It was like bonanza. So this song you can listen to with your eyes open or closed, and it is I Am Becoming. I am becoming the roots beneath my feet. I am creating boundaries that I keep. I am connecting with nature all around. As I make these offerings, my life's become profound. As I make these offerings, my life's become profound. I am listening to the sacred voice within. I am creating from when my day begins. I am embracing the wisdom of my heart. As I live these truths inside, my life's a work of art. As I live these truths inside, my life's a work of art. I am honoring all my body needs. I am becoming the parents of my dreams. I am claiming the power of my thoughts, tapping into clearest light. This is what I've sought. Tapping into clearest light, this is what I've sought. I am engaging the presence that I seek. I am embracing the truth of which I speak. I am becoming all I'm meant to be. Now aware of all my gifts, now I'm finally free. Now aware of all my gifts, now I'm finally me. I am becoming
I